Hey y'all, I'm back talking about Unit 2. Ignore this. I've managed to catch my granddaughter's cold, and no, I do not have the virus. Okay, I just got a cough and I'm losing my voice, so I'm trying to protect it a little bit. So I can get through all these nice videos, these little lectures I'm going to do. So I'm going to walk everybody through Unit 2, get us started. Just be going over it briefly because after this, you'll see on the page there's going to be a whole series of these little short lectures that will direct you to or get you ready to write a journal post or to put things in the Google Drive. Again, if people are having trouble with the Google Drive link, I put the link on the announcements page and you should be able to find it there. Okay, so let's go over briefly what we're going to be doing. So here we are on our site. Here's lectures and handouts, and I've already got it up, so I'll just show you, okay? Units 2 and 3 are all sort of one thing, and for those of you who were there the last day of real class, this is going to look real familiar because we went over it, and I'll go over it for everybody else too. It's always never a bad thing to do things more than once. So Units 2 and 3 are two halves of the same whole. Now in Unit 1 we talked about language and culture and all kinds of stuff. In Unit 3 we're going to be writing in a genre that you maybe have not worked in before. Um, we already have done that because you wrote a literacy narrative, and some of you never wrote a literacy narrative before. That's a specific genre. It's got conventions, all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to continue down that journey about genre. But Unit 2, what Unit 2 has got with it, the cool thing about Unit 3 is that you can write song lyrics or create a video or, photo essays, all kinds of ways to do it, not just a written piece. Okay, so Unit 2, the point of Unit 2 is for you to do some research on the thing you want to write about. And the research is based on something that is interesting or important to you personally. Okay, well, I'm not looking for it. Please do not, I don't want 4,000 essays on the death penalty or why marijuana should be legalized unless you have a personal connection with things. Okay, I'll get to that again in just a second. But right now, it's all about curiosity. I think I've told you guys the story about my father, who was a medical researcher, and he changed the face of how we treat trauma patients and surgical patients by starting with a single question. Why is it that we can fix broken bones, we can take care of gunshot wounds, and get the body all fixed up, and patients die anyway? So he went on this lifelong research project to not only answer that question, but to come up with some solutions for it. If he were trying to prove a point, he would have never gotten there. But he left himself open to curiosity and asking questions, and that's how he got where he got. And that's what you guys are going to be doing. Okay, so you're going to be looking at right here, research an issue you're truly curious about. That means coming up with questions for which you don't have all the answers. Not everybody's got all the answers to anything, some people notwithstanding. So you'll use some of that research when you get to Unit 3, which we'll talk about in a bit. So you're also going to research that issue, that topic, with a variety of genres. And again, I'll get to that in a minute. But you're not limited to just professional reports or databases or any of that kind of stuff. Okay, there's all kinds of ways to do research. What this is not is this is not a book report. Okay, this is not typical copy and paste. You're going to be digging deeper into those sources and saying how they work, what they're saying, who they're saying it to, why that genre, a bunch of things like that. So again, read through this, but you're really going to be, as I said, nosing around to see what's out there. What we're looking at is how people talk about this issue and why they talk about it, and giving you the chance in Unit 3 to talk about it yourself in your own way. Okay, so don't be confused. It's clear. So this is the process we're going to be going through. Okay, you're going to come up with a topic, and again, something you've had an encounter with is the best way to think about this, because people go, what am I going to write about? Well, it could be something that you've read about or that you saw online, or it could be personal, something that happened to you or someone you know. My student who did the Stop and Frisk project some years ago, he chose Stop and Frisk because he'd been stopped and frisked, frankly, and so had a lot of his friends. So he went into it with that mindset. I'm going to find out what's going on and what I can do about it. Right? So it's something you're truly curious. One of my classes last term, their question ended up being, what is this about the sex traffic and young women in this country, and boy, did they come up with some interesting stuff. It was just a really random idea that one of them had. There was a group of them working on it. It was an 1121 class. Right, so once you come up with an idea, you're going to write a page to post in your journal. When you start asking questions, you think of, I'm an old journalist, and the thing that we were taught was to ask what's called the 5 W's and an H. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. So you generate as many questions as you can. The interesting thing about writing down all these questions without even censoring yourself is that as you get toward the bottom, the more you write, the more you'll find yourself starting to kind of focus in on one thing as opposed to something else. It happens all the time. Just go with it. Let it happen. Okay, it's just a process. So your journal post is going to have, tell me your topic area, why you picked it, and then include all the questions you came up with or just the ones that are most interesting to you. So we're going to post that online, and two things are going to happen. One is that everybody else is going to comment on it. I think this is really useful because a lot of times people are interested in something they don't know a whole lot about, but they're just curious, which is the whole point of this. And somebody else in the class will have personal experience with it. They may have a suggestion or they may have a question that you hadn't thought about. So everybody's going to comment on at least 3 other people's topic ideas and questions. More about that in the journal prompts, okay? And then the second thing that's going to happen is I'll say, yes, go, or have you thought about this? So it may be one of those times when people get really confused that we'll have a Zoom meeting, but we'll get there when we get there. Then as far as the research, as I said in class, the last day of real class, don't be afraid to start with Google or Wikipedia. Okay, Wikipedia can't be one of your sources, but it can steer you to some other possibles, lots of other sources in the research thing at the bottom. Truth time, you're going to find more sources than you know what to do with. Honestly, once you start, as you guys know, if you've been out Googling stuff, you'll find a lot of stuff, and you can't use all of it. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. We'll talk a little bit about why some's good, why some's bad. But don't be afraid. Then you'll narrow it down to 4 most interesting ones you want to look at, 3 of which must be from different genres, okay? And you have to pick at least one genre from each of these 3 categories. An imaginative text, which is a play, a poem, a short story, fiction, novel, could be a film, could be a script, anything that's fiction, okay? That's not real life. A combination of visual and linguistic, which means visuals and words. This could be an ad, a comic, a graphic novel, again, movie. If imaginative text would be like a screenplay, like a script, okay? So this one combination would be the movie itself, a video, a TV show, a website. So that's category 2. Category 3 is nonfiction text, and I said non-imaginative, but that annoys me because creative nonfiction is nonfiction because it's real life, but it's very imaginative. But that's one of my problems. It's not yours. So these are like newspaper articles, feature stories, op-eds, academic essay, business report, the kind of stuff you're used to looking at, right? So you get your sources, you pick 4, and then you do a rhetorical genre analysis worksheet for each one. And let me show you what that looks like. It's this guy. Okay, so for each one of your sources, you'll fill this little thing out. Okay, who's the author? What do we know about them? About the organization? What can we figure out from what's there? From what research you do? The idea is to see what their assumptions about the world are. What particular, as we say, axe they have to grind. What their purpose is in doing stuff. Okay, how do we figure that out? So who's the author? Who's the audience? Who's the primary audience? Who are they trying to get to? And what other audiences do you think might read it? And really importantly, what audience do you think the author's ignoring? Is he writing only to rich white people? So is he ignoring people of color, right? So that's in here. What's the occasion? What's happening in the world that they created that thing when they created it, that song or that movie? Were they responding to something that's happening in the world? A lot going on right now about this virus and what's happening in the world. What's the purpose? What was the author trying to accomplish? Inform, convince, that kind of stuff. Why choose this genre? And this is where you get into genre stuff, like we do with literacy narratives. What are the conventions? Why does the author change some of these conventions? I mean, not all literacy narratives are made the same, as we saw. So why do you think that author that creator did something different. And then what's the tone? Is it, snarky? Is it serious? What appeals did they use? Remember logos, pathos, and ethos? Logos being logic, pathos being emotion, and ethos being the credibility of the author. Okay, so that's this, and what it's based on is my old friend, the rhetorical situation, ta-da-ta-da, and it's up on the site too. Historical context, author, audience. Demographics means who makes them up, age, education, that kind of stuff. This is the text, so we'll be looking at the text, assumptions, the different contexts. This is occasion, situational context is occasion. This is too. So this is part of this. I'll go over this in more detail in a further lecture, but for right now, let's go back to this, okay? So you're going to be doing that little worksheet for each one of your sources, and then you write your investigative report, which is the major piece on this. And I want you to do it in 3 sections, in 3 pieces. There are 3 sections to the thing: an introduction, the analysis of your sources, and a discussion. I'm going to have you do the source analysis first to be sure you're doing it right, and then we'll jump back and do the intro and conclusion. And for this, we'll go back to the schedule in a bit. There's a template. The template looks like this. It's also up here in Unit 2 handouts. All right, it's right underneath the link to this thing. So this is how you should lay it out when you upload it to the Google Drive. These are your sources. Again, I'll go back over this stuff in more detail when we get there. It's a conclusion. All right, so that's what this is. There's your template for it. All right, so you'll post all of that, and again, this is a real specific breakdown of what goes into the source analysis, and what goes into the conclusion, and what goes into the introduction. Right. But again, we're going to get to these, so don't panic. Just download this thing, print it out, and have it. Right, and then we'll go into it in more detail when we get there. All right, so and this is what you'll be graded on. So there is all of that. All right, and now along the way, we're going to be looking at, we're going to be doing certain things. Okay, we're looking at, where is it? Assignments. How we do the work. Right. That's what these upcoming videos are going to be about. Here are the assignments, the main assignments, and the due dates. Online, something's due at 11:59 of the day that it's due. Okay, so if something's due April 7th, it's due at 11:59 that night. So that's that. Here's the journal prompts. There's 3 of them. This is the first one. First up, this will be due the first Wednesday after we kind of get started, and here it is. Here's the second one. This is your questions, research questions. So you post it put it in journal, and then go find 2 other people's posts and hit a comment. Now you need to ask a question or an idea. Simple things like cool does not work. It doesn't count. I don't give you credit for it, and everybody's going to get credit for this stuff. And then go back and see what people said. They might send you in interesting directions. And the third one, this is the one you're really going to enjoy, is you're going to look at so you can practice that worksheet. We're going to do it with a genre of music. So pick a genre you like and do that worksheet that we looked at. Where'd it go? All I got to do is find it. This one, about your genre of music. Right. Who's the audience for rap? Go for it. Okay, do that, and then post it. Right, just post your reactions to it. You can either fill out the worksheet and upload it as a picture or a PDF or something. Again, I'll get to it. It's kind of hard to do it as a doc. You have to use a thing called the Mammoth Doc. Mammoth.docx, which is below the posting page where you write your post. And then you can insert it into the post itself. It's pretty simple, but you got to go look for it. And then at the end of your post, you write a couple of sentences about what you found. Okay? And then add on, once you publish yours, go find other people's. So when you post it, and I didn't put here, but put what genre you're looking at. I'll fix this for the title. All right, so those are that. And this is just a kind of a more fun thing that I made for the worksheet. But it's the same as the one that's already printed out. Let me show you, while I'm here, go show you the post, how to add a doc. If you want to add, if you've done the worksheet and it's a doc and you've saved it and you want to upload it here, the way you do